It's the Slam Jam Wrestling Show, Slam Jam Championship Wrestling, I should say, which absolutely makes it sound like it's promotion, but it's a cooler sounding name. Dave, how are you?
I'm okay, Dave. How are you?
I'm okay, Dave. Look, we have it's a double D day. It's
Double D Day, isn't that the lovely, like, what every wrestling fan really wants to hear is a double D Day in the wrestling world?
Well, I don't know. It depends because, well, yeah, like D-Day has lots of meanings, I guess, and double D-Day might have some other meanings beyond that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, yeah, because there's still some dodgy characters out there in the wrestling world, as we discovered in the last 7 days.
Yeah, like it's been wild, hasn't it? Like, I don't know, like we haven't had a show in a little while, and in terms of what's happening in the wrestling world, quite possibly since we last had a show, certainly a few weeks ago, we've got a new AEW World Champion in Samoa Joe. AEW have had a pay-per-view. I think CM Punk was back when we last had a show, but The Rock is now back. There's the speculation of what the main event for Mania is going to be. We've just had Wrestle Kingdom, but I have not had a chance to see any of it yet. And there's been rumors and innuendos and speculations about, mostly Chris Jericho, but I think probably some other people as well. How about you, Dave? What's caught your attention?
I mean, it's the same old, really. There's a lot that's caught my attention that I want to sort of look at the positive sort of things, but it's been happily outweighed by the negative stuff. So obviously we had the reveal of the Devil at the end.
Jesus!
Pay-per-view as well, which finally came to fruition after however I don't know how many months it has actually been. Might have been about 3 or 4, but it felt like about 8.
Okay, so let's start on that for a second, because I think I feel sorry for AEW in one regard at least, because it would seem that the injury Adam Cole has was never a storyline, and if this was their plan, then it was like, well, hopefully he'll get better, and then it was just eventually obvious that, well, he's not getting better. We don't have anyone else for it to be or for it to make sense to be. And I think it just dragged on for about another 2 or 3 months longer than it should have, just to give us the most obvious answer in the end anyway.
Yeah. And I think it's not fairly obvious or anything like that, but I think it's reasonably clear that Joe becoming the champion wasn't necessarily the plan right from the beginning. But I think it's a plan that has sort of paid off to an extent. I quite like the fact that the title change happened and everything like that, because one, a little bit I think MJF's been a bit overexposed recently, and just this no fault of his own. It's just to do with the fact that the story has dragged on, as we said, due to the injury and everything. And I imagine that the original plan was probably for Adam Cole to win the title, but the did you watch? Have you seen this morning's Dynamite with the explanation and the? I
saw some of it live last night, but. Yeah, and I did catch his promo, but I forget most of the details now. But I know that he's going to have Wardlow win the title for him and hand it over.
Yeah, and is that what? So you're basically doing exactly what Christian and Luchasaurus have done then?
Yeah, exactly. I guess if they hadn't literally just done it, you could say it's the Andre selling the belt to Ted DiBiase thing, or something like that. But yeah. It's been a weird turn of events. I think the Devil storyline actually started after All In. So I think they literally started it basically immediately after that. So it's been dragging on for a long, long time.
Last September.
Adam Cole probably was going to get the championship. But again, if my favorite subject in the world being CM Punk, obviously, they were going to have resolved the 2 world titles, and that got messed up along the way. And so maybe he would have had some unification match with MJF or something like this. But Samoa Joe obviously was right there, directly from All In onwards. They did the weird thing with Samoa Joe where he just gave up the Ring of Honor TV title. And then he's like, I'm going to go after the world title. And then he actually got it, which I don't think at the time he gave it up, anyone thought was actually going to happen. It just seemed like a dumb idea at the time. So It's been clumsy, and I completely agree. MJF has been so overexposed, and I agree it's not his fault because he was in a excuse me, he was in a tag team, and then he had to defend the titles on his own, and then they just didn't know what to do with those belts clearly for a long time. And
apart from having him defend them on pay-per-view when he's the world champion and could have defended the title on.
Well, exactly. And but then along the way, obviously, they don't have Punk anymore. Omega's just got injured. The Bucks are out, and Bryan Danielson has been out at various times, and then comes back and wrestles injured anyway. And so MJF has had to bear a heavy load for quite some time. And now apparently he's. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say I'm trying to think of like a time where they've had to sort of like go for like a plan B situation so like clearly in this sort of situation in like previous times. I'm sure there has been, you know, plan B situations. I mean, I've seen like on live shows where a match has had to change because something's happened in the match, but it's one of those things where I wonder if this course of event, you know, it's a weird little course of event. I was listening to a podcast today talking about it, you know, and they did put for this suggestion of it's almost like a new episode. If you took AEW's situation with the Devil storyline and put it into Marvel's What If series, and it'd be like, what if Adam Cole didn't jump off that entrance ramp?
Yeah, and also,
what if CM Punk didn't attack Jack Perry backstage?
What's the chances of one company within like about 18 months having two main eventers break their foot just by jumping near the ring? You know, and actually, who was that guy who had the ladder match? Like Dante Martin or something broke his leg outside the ring. You know, they've had a few foot injuries.
Yeah, let's not talk about Kota Ibushi. That's not.
What happened? When?
Well, you're not seeing this. He's injured as well now. He had a match against Naomichi Marufuji in Pro Wrestling Noah the other night, which for some reason was their main event on this show, and he at some point early on in the match broke one of his ankles. He then decided, in his infinite wisdom, to do a moonsault, land on his feet. He broke the other ankle.
Oh my god!
35-minute match with Marufuji, and after it finished, he had to go to the hospital. So,
oh my god, is it horrible to say? Oh, I just looked at it. I shouldn't have.
I haven't seen the footage of it.
Okay. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, it's
what a mistake. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it just seems like AEW talent just seems to have this penchant for just getting injured, and it's very odd.
They wrestle quite a risky style, and you know, it's popular nowadays to criticize AEW, and I'm not going to lie, I'm guilty of it. It's fun. It is fun. But I like AEW. I watch most of their shows and stuff, but
I still choose to watch them over WWE most of the time. So,
do you know, it's been interesting recently. Like, I have found that I've watched like throughout the pandemic. Well, obviously that was the Thunderdome era, but like sort of since then, like WWE, I could have watched so much of it and I didn't. And then in the last year, it's been a lot more interesting when, you know, timing
in every aspect, not just in storylines.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But then at the same time, AEW have had misfortune or dropped the ball in certain ways. So it's been a perfect storm for WWE and an unfortunate series of events to some degree for AEW. Just because to have so many guys on the shelf and stuff. And what I was going to say was that because they don't have as many shows and as many matches, and then they will have wrestlers who wrestle indie shows and that, there might be injuries that we don't hear about or they don't fess up to if they happen elsewhere. And so, you know, they wrestle a more risky style and stuff. It was like interesting earlier today. They showed Jade Cargill, who obviously was this big deal in AEW, is training at the Dungeon. And I was like, well, okay, so it'll be interesting to see if she's a whole new person. And then there was something that came out actually that showed that Ricky Starks was training there as well. Now, obviously, the Dungeon, you know, because of it was Natty Neihard that shared these, Natalia. And obviously she's in WWE, but obviously Dungeon Wrestling. Did you know that Bret Hart and his sons have got a wrestling promotion.
No, didn't know that.
Yeah, they legitimately have it. And it's called Dungeon Wrestling.
Okay.
But obviously they're not associated or affiliated specifically with WWE or AEW.
It's not the dungeon either, is it? Because the
No,
Heart
exactly.
like went on sale years ago. So
yeah. Now I'll see if I can find out. Like, because I don't think Bret Hart's children wrestle, but he's got two sons. Wasn't one of them like called Blade or something insane?
yeah, one of them's called Blade. Yeah, he's the one.
The other was the Butcher. Dungeon Wrestling.
yeah, he's attacking with the Butcher.
Yeah, exactly. Heart Dungeon. Okay, so Dungeon Wrestling. I'll see if I can share about this. It comes up on Instagram. I can only actually find them on Instagram. But I'll show you what we've got here. Dungeon Wrestling. It shows a man wrestling a bear. Chris Masters seems to be there.
That's Chris Masters.
Oh my God! Have they got Jedward? That looks like Jedward. Who the hell are these guys?
It's
Jedward. It's Jedward. But yeah, so there is some sort of.
God. Who are they? Oh, it's the Clinton Bulldogs. Oh, okay.
Who? Those two?
Oh, no,
it's not.
It's not
Jedward. It is.
No,
Oh, yeah. My God, though, doesn't that guy look like Dynamite?
Well, it should do. He's a relative of him.
But is it his son?
Dynamite nephews.
Nephew? Yeah, look at that. For a nephew to look exactly like him, that's insane.
Yeah, genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Burroughs twins, I want to see them wrestle now. Hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them before now.
No, exactly. Yeah, like literally, I've only ever discovered this on Instagram. And so I really don't know anything about it. Look, Nick Aldis was there at some point.
There he is.
But yeah, so it's been interesting. Just because AEW's had some misfortune. It felt like a turning point for them in the last few months was when they had Adam Copeland come in, and it seems like that almost sent them in a slightly downward spiral rather than the opposite.
I see what you did there. I don't think you did that purposely, but
no, I didn't do it purposely. What did I do?
Downward spiral was Edge's finishing move back in the day, wasn't it?
Was it downward spiral?
Yeah, it's called the downward spiral. He used to do the flatliner whenever it's called the downward spiral.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That is
early Edge.
That is happy coincidence.
Yeah, but no, I think so. I think I think that sort of just was unfortunate timing with everything else that was sort of going on with at the time. I think that's actually turned a corner, and that was actually one of the more entertaining parts of the pay-per-view, which was and it is a pay-per-view, isn't it? Yeah, because it's not PLE. I'm getting confused. Yeah. AEW do pay-per-view, WWE do PLE.
Well, apparently Impact do PLE now, which has got people speculating.
Really?
Yeah.
They do stuff just for their network, don't they? They do just stuff for their app.
But they've apparently started using the term premium live event.
Oh.
So what does that mean?
Well, they're using the same. It's the same software now, isn't it, for the app? But they're using the same as the WWE network thing. I had a little look at it the other day, and it's exactly the same setup and method for everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I think that with Copeland and Christian, I think that's been steadily sort of very, very steady all the way along in terms of just sort of twists and turns. And I think that's more of a this is a mad sort of angle where everything else on on there is a bit more straight-laced wrestling and your comedy segments here and there. And I think the Continental Classics helped a little bit as well, because I think that's been really good for the most part. The matches for that, and all sort of culminating with Kingston getting the victory in the end, which was nice to see. I think they're turning it back a little bit now, and hopefully this, today's Dynamite or yesterday's Dynamite was pretty decent. So I'm sure that for the moment the quality will keep going, and hopefully with everything being sort of really fresh now with Joe champion and new challenges on the horizon, hopefully everything will sort of go a bit more in a decent direction. And when MJF inevitably does come back, hopefully it'll be a breath of fresh air. Everyone will have had a break from him, and he'll heal up and all that sort of stuff, and it'll be for the better.
Okay, so is MJF coming back? What do you make of the fact they took him off the roster page? Is this just too blatant, or because there's
not blatant enough?
Any comment?
I think it's not. I don't think it's too blatant to the point where the more hardcore fans like us will notice these things and think, oh, it's an angle and all that sort of stuff. But I think if anyone's just more of a casual fan and they see that he's not on the roster page and things like that, they might go, oh my god, he might be at the Royal Rumble. He might turn up to a special thing.
What is the game from
he won't. He's injured and he'll just take the next few months off and they'll bring him back in some hopefully big way, which hopefully won't detract from the rest of the program.
Yeah, but like I'm trying to fathom what the gain is for them for AEW to make people think that MJF might turn up in the Royal Rumble. Is it that they just want the sense that people are disappointed watching WWE and then it feels like a win when they get him back themselves?
Yeah, I think it'll be like the initial. It's the winning pop when he does come back. To there, I mean, he is never to be coming back because Adam Cole said the immortal line in the program. He's gone. MJF. He said MJF is dead. I'm not sure he's dead, but
yeah,
he's definitely out for the moment. But I think they just do that in order to try and create some sort of, some sort of like a gossip around the area and try and get people talking, get people noticing, and hopefully by the time when people are like not necessarily noticing he's gone, suddenly when his music hits and he comes back, it's gonna be yay, all that sort of stuff. Speaking of big pops, poor old Jinder. I can't believe what disrespectful lack of pop for him as a former WWE champion returning to Raw.
Yeah, the thing about that was I've got like mixed views on excuse me, on what happened there. Like, in one regard, like he got the segment with The Rock. You know, that's a big deal. But does that rub actually mean anything? Because last time it was Austin Theory, and what did him sharing the ring with The Rock actually do for him? Anything at all? You know, so Jinder came out there. He got to fight with The Rock a little bit. He got to lay it in a little bit. That's that footage will exist forever at least. I didn't think I thought Jinder's promo was well scripted. I didn't think his delivery quite nailed it. And the thing that did it for me was when The Rock was doing that sort of circling, Jinder kept putting his back like he was walking away. He like literally, if you go back and watch that segment, The Rock always kept it so he was like face on with like Jinder. Whereas Jinder put his back to The Rock as if he was like being chased. It's like, no, turn your body. You know, you're a big guy. Like he looked as big as The Rock. You know, it's like, you know, you can make this face to face mean something if you make it mean something. And I don't think he quite did.
No, well, my major problem was it was 20 minutes of first couple of minutes with Jinder talking. Yeah. I skipped through that. So that's the thing. On the morning after it happened, I managed to happened to like skip to like the middle portion of the program, and then it suddenly was like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the former WWE champion. I was like, oh, it's the bit I wanted to hear, and I hadn't been spoiled on it, so I was like, okay, let's see who it is. Did laugh at the troll job of Jinder coming out, but it was just like it kind of reminded me of a throwback to like a really bad what was the guy's name that was in the Attitude Era that came out that he was Middle Eastern guy that always did the sort of like thing. You people think that I'm this, I'm that, and Tiger Ali Singh.
Tiger Ali Singh, yeah.
So he used to come out and do these promos like emphasizing the fact that he was foreign and all this sort of stuff, and just antagonizing the Americans and the differences and all that sort of stuff. And it was no more really than that. It was almost exactly the same sort of stuff. I was quite surprised when he mentioned Iron Sheik, because I think there was actually more. It was more Tiger Ali Singh than it was Iron Sheik. But but I was skipping through it every 30 seconds. I thought, is Jinder's part never going to end here? What's going on? And finally, it got to the point where Rock's music hit. I was like, oh, okay, there we go. That's what it's setting up for. But then it was 15 minutes of The Rock just endlessly going on and on, doing the chants, doing the I'm gonna get the chants going, forgetting the setup to the "it doesn't matter" line, and then having to start it again. Jinder got in there with the I've not seen Baywatch, things like that. I think maybe one of them got it wrong anyway, but that blatantly went wrong. But yeah, that was just something was off there. But yeah, but as I say, it was just like 20 minutes of really just a lot of stuff really not really happening. The inevitable people's elbow, and then the only bit everyone's going to really remember is the last minute where he says, "Should I sit at the bar? Should I sit wherever else wherever it was, or should I sit at the head of the table?" So, there we go. Okay, so he's going to come in and take the main event from CM Punk again, and take the main event from Cody.
I didn't think Punk was ever getting day 2. I thought Punk and Rollins was day 1.
Yeah, he's getting one of them. Yeah, but it's quite funny that all this time after complaining at the time about the fact that Rock was getting the main events over him, it's happening again.
Do you know there might be something for the roster? Look, things have been on the up, and things have been more positive and momentum for WWE in the last year. Again, when there's been a lack of that in AEW, and we can talk about some of the people leaving AEW, which for the first 3 years of AEW, basically no one left because no one could, because all of the contracts were brand new. And so it meant that there was always a one-way stream of traffic. But now, literally, as we get to WrestleMania, where it was going to be, Cody's going to finish his story in that, literally 2 guys have turned up out of nowhere, Punk after 10 years, and Rock hasn't had a match in about 10 years. Yeah. And they might be taking day 1 and day 2, night 1, night 2 main events of WrestleMania. There might be some people in that locker room who might suddenly be like, maybe there might be an opportunity for me over in AEW after all.
Well, yeah, or they think, they're there. Okay, there might be a place for me here, as long as it doesn't sign anybody else. Oh, hi, Andrade. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. I don't know, what are they going to do with Andrade? I think...
him in LWO, isn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got talent, but I just think he's got zero marketable personality.
If CJ Perry couldn't be bothered to manage him, then why would they?
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, so the other rumor, I guess, around The Rock is that it will be Elimination Chamber versus Roman. I just think that's absolutely. Have you not heard that at all?
I had a little glimmer of something, but I just thought people were joking.
I've seen so much where people are saying, should The Rock take on Roman at Elimination Chamber in Australia? That is a terrible idea, in my opinion. Terrible. For me, Cody's story, he can finish his story. Who says it has to be at WrestleMania? That was never part of it. He wants to win the world title. It doesn't have to be at WrestleMania.
You can't have Roman losing the title at Elimination Chamber. He's got to be at WrestleMania.
Oh, no. What, do you think The Rock's taking the title from Roman?
No, it doesn't need the title. But I don't think... I don't know. You don't need the title to be in there. It's the title of the head of the table is surely enough. But
yeah,
you can't. But you can't. They put themselves in a corner. You can't have Roman lose the title at a non-WrestleMania. It's not happening at WrestleMania, nowhere else.
I think he could lose it at SummerSlam. If
so, you want another 6 months of it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because, and this is why Cody shouldn't get the main event. Roman versus Rock, main event of WrestleMania 40. That's a big one. You know, that 20, 30. This is number 40. Roman versus Rock. There isn't a bigger main event you could do. Roman wins because The Rock, unless The Rock's going to come back and wrestle for another month and then put Cody over, who cares about Rock versus Cody, honestly, right? So The Rock does the passing of the torch again to Roman, gets the huge payday, etc., etc. Then we would have Roman versus Punk for the 2 or 3 months where they can have Heyman involved and do all of that. Roman still wins because Punk shouldn't beat Roman. Look, you know, I'm happy for Punk to finish his story getting a WrestleMania main event. There was an interview where Punk said that, you know, he wanted to be added as a 3-way in a WrestleMania main event and get first eliminated just so he's been in the main event. That's all he wanted. He doesn't have to win the main event. So Punk can go against Rollins and probably lose. You know, he's come in, they gave him his main event. He's put over Seth. And then he can go against Roman, put Roman over, and then Roman can lose to Cody, and then Punk can catch back up with Cody later or something, and then everything can resolve itself. And for me, that could happen. Like, when is it that, how long does Roman have to keep this title to overtake Hogan? SummerSlam might have been the point to do it.
Okay.
So, because like he's not going to keep it for another 4.5 years to beat Bruno Sammartino.
But they've got 3 to beat now, isn't he? He's Hogan, Backlund, and Sammartino.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like personally, I would do it. I would just have it where by the time he gets to year 5, I think everyone would start to want him to do it again.
It just goes all the way around again to point like, no, never lose, please never lose.
Yeah, please never lose.
I don't know about that, but I'll keep that in there. I mean, I've never been really on the Cody train anyway, so I'm not very fussed if he wins or not. But yeah, it's just the fact that if they are going to do Rock and Roman, I hope they do it to the point where it's not a massively long match. I think it's going to be like when Roman and Brock did their Mania match a few years ago, the unification match, where it was like just under 10 minutes, and it was just like smash out of nowhere. The finish was out of nowhere, and it caught everyone by surprise. Because Brock was knackered of just doing the spine buster on the people's elbow.
I know. He was.
It's like, okay, you're going to need a few months to get this. This coming from me, obviously, the svelte Svengali god that I am. But but yeah, it's just one of those things of you just hope that it's not going to be embarrassing as well. It's just like you're putting staking all this on Rock and Roman, and you think you just hope it's not going to be a total washout and embarrassment. Yeah.
Could it be though? Like, should it they'll stand there, they'll have a face to face, they'll have some hands back and forth, and then like a test of strength maybe. They don't need to do much.
No,
they can take it to the outside. Someone can be slammed into the steps.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm so disappointed. I'm not expecting suddenly Rock and Roman to be busting out 450 splashes and shooting star presses and things like that. I'm just mean, they'll do a spear. Their biggest spot will be the spear through the barricade, which happens in every Roman match, and then that'll be that. But it's always interesting to see how it ends up happening. Obviously, we've got the Royal Rumble coming up soon, and that's always fun to see what happens there and see how it goes. And I'll say it's always fun. I mean, sometimes it's not, because then you see who wins and you're like, oh, okay. I was when Brock won a few years ago. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things of like, okay, where are they actually going to go with it? And it's good because it is unpredictable. So now you've got 3 people who could conceivably be in the main event in some form or fashion in Punk, Cody, and Rock. So it's nice to be talking about it in that sort of way, I guess. Yeah.
No, absolutely, because often it's obvious half a year before where it's going to be, and for the last 10 years, it was like, well, it's going to be Cena and someone, and it's going to be Brock and someone, or it's going to be Roman and someone, and usually the someone is pretty clear half a year out. Or they kind of don't matter. Like I remember when Drew won the Rumble, and it was like people were getting excited. Oh, it's going to be something new and something different. But we knew that was coming. There was rumors that it was coming like a couple of months before, and people saying, "Oh, but they haven't used him well. How are they going to get him there?" and stuff like that. The position WWE is in now was, even if someone got injured, if like they got cursed and suddenly Rock was like, actually that spine buster was too much, I can't do it. And then Cody got injured and Punk got injured, then they've still got actually is Sami Zayn injured at the moment? I'm not sure. He might be.
Yeah, he's wrestling.
Okay, but they've still got Uso. They could rehabilitate Drew McIntyre, although I saw that apparently he's lost 12 championship matches in a row now, which is ridiculous. They're going
to go on to, because the way it ended, it'll be Drew versus Damian Priest, I guess, would probably be the Rumble, I'd have thought.
Well, what's happening with Damian Priest? When is he cashing that in?
Apparently he's got that briefcase.
Yeah.
In any moment.
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably be the end of Rollins and Punk. He'll probably cash in a Mania at the end of that match or something.
Yeah. I think he has to win. And I think he's good enough. But the weird thing is, as big as the Judgment Day are as part of Raw, I sort of feel like when we speak about, well, obviously there's Roman and Seth are the champions, and we speak about Punk and Uso and Cody and Kevin Owens and all that. Damian Priest doesn't seem quite at their level. And yet he is the de facto next champion for whenever he cashes it in. So,
he's got a ceiling, in my opinion, and he always sort of has done. But to be said, having said that, he kind of deserves a good push because he's been in the last year. He's done like some really good work. I mean, freaking hell, that Bad Bunny match was better than it had any right to be.
Yeah,
one of my most fun matches of last year. I think, but because I haven't really thought about what my matches of the year or anything like that were last year. But if you go asking what my most fun I had watching, it was that one.
The most fun you had watching was Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny and Damian Priest.
Where Carlito and Savio Vega returned.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was such a fun match.
It was a fun match.
The crowd were absolutely crazy just from Bad Bunny's entrance when they were just along that track. It was just, but the atmosphere was fantastic.
The crowd for that, it wasn't quite Hogan and Rock, but it was one of those ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. It was one of these ridiculous. The crowd supported it so much kind of matches.
Yeah. No, before he even turned up on WWE, I really didn't know who Bad Bunny was, and why would he? I'm British bloke who doesn't listen to much Latino music, so I wouldn't know who this guy was that was rapping while Booker T was just stood with his arms folded in a random. Right. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And I was watching this bit, but it was really really good fun. So yeah, I mean, give Priest a bit of a go with something. It doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to be there for long. Give him his little WrestleMania moment. I think people will accept it. They'll be more accepting of it than others. Doesn't have to have a long reign with it.
No, but whilst that's true, if he doesn't have a long reign with it, depending what they for like months ago they were teasing that him and Finn were falling out, and then with JD coming in, they were like, "Oh, the Judgment Day is going to splinter." They shouldn't break up the Judgment Day, because if they break up the Judgment Day, especially with Priest winning the title, if he doesn't keep it for long, he will be a Jack Swagger of a champion. So, there's been a few champions. Unfortunately, even Dolph Ziggler, who... Did you see anything about Dolph Ziggler in the last couple of days? Did we mention him already?
He turned up in New Japan, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, I think he got injured, so that's why he wasn't a long reigning world champion. But he's someone that, because his title obviously wasn't a big hit, he kind of... I think it ended up in some ways hurting him more than helping him,
It's really these things of circumstance sometimes, isn't it? If you're going to give somebody, you've got to make sure they have a plan at stake. And unfortunately, I think since not last year, SummerSlam before, I think that if anything, it has shown in the last little while. In that time, the quality control has been so much better since Vince's been out of control of the storylines. He had that moment where it went back in the Mania, it went back, he was having more influence, and it was like, oh, it's getting a bit rubbish again. And then it's just gone again entirely. And as I say, it is a much better, sort of more cohesive and more sensible sort of story, angles and things like that, which have been much more enjoyable. So it's, I mean, like I say, I'm not an avid watcher of it on a week basis. As I say, I am more drawn to AEW just because of the style of their show. But it's. I don't know what my point was. I sort of just rambled.
Don't worry.
I've sort of forgotten about it.
Okay, something I can pick up on that you said earlier, though, Dave. Let's do our unofficial, because we haven't put any thought into it. Either like match of the year or wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, stuff like this. Let's do a little bit of a retrospective. We spoke about some of the current goings on, and we can look forward again and stuff. Who is your wrestler of the year across any promotion, I guess? Who springs to your mind?
Gunther.
Oh, okay, fair. That's a completely fair choice.
Most consistent performer on there. He's been much better at promos than I ever thought he was ever. And bear in mind, I've got a bit more of an attachment to that because I've seen him live a lot before we went to WWE and the independents over here and in Progress and places like that, and WW places like that, and really seen like his sort of improvement in that direction, seeing his character start to develop and stuff with the group called Ring Kampf, and seeing the type of matches he was doing over here, and the fact that they haven't changed him that much. I mean, obviously he's himself changed a bit. He got lots more lean, much more lean than he was, but he hasn't changed anything. This is another example of what I was saying about Vince when he took over and he was starting to do this thing of like, I think.
Well, Gunther.
Yeah, it was
Volta. You know.
Well, no, it wasn't. I mean, we had that edition of the show where we were absolutely roasting that name change, but which is still one of my most fun shows we've done on Slam Jam. Actually, was where we were just talking about that and roasting it. But I think there was a point where Gunther was constantly like doing this thing where he was chopping Kaiser, wasn't he? And at the end of every match, no matter whether it was a win or a loss, he constantly was beating up Kaiser. And that suddenly stopped around the time of Clash at the Castle, which I think was when Vince was again out of I forget what the timeline was, but there was a point I think
it was around then when Vince. You're right.
And then it all changed up, and then it was like, no, we'll bring Vinci in, we'll reunite Imperium, and have that as a full stable, which has been a brilliant move as well. And just I'd say just from the Rumble, because he had that amazing run in the Rumble as well. He was there for the longest time in the traditional Rumble match, wasn't he? He was there from the beginning, and he was the evil heel that was there from the beginning until the end, before being eliminated by the valiant number 30 entrance. But yeah, I think in terms of match quality and things like that, it's Gunther for me.
Yeah, no, you make a very good case for it. Just on that quickly, who's Gunther going against at WrestleMania? Because people have said Brock, but how can they do that and not put the title on the line?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know if Brock would even want the title, but it just, again, does he lose it beforehand or not? Does Brock cost him the title? Maybe
I don't want him to lose it. You know, I'm loving these long reigns.
Yeah, well, who knows? They might have him beat Brock. Who knows?
They should.
They should do. I think they might do. There was that one moment in the Rumble where they had that little standoff there. The crowd went a bit nuts, didn't they? But they didn't do anything. And it's like, oh, I was disappointing. But yeah, no, it was. I think Mania against Brock is most likely the most likely to happen. I think.
Yeah. Well, in terms of my wrestler of the year, there's probably someone else I should think of. I'm giving it to Christian. Like, absolutely, I have not enjoyed a character. Like, for me, again, whatever criticisms I've had against AEW and that, I've enjoyed literally everything Christian has done in the whole patriarchy storyline and everything. Like, okay, so what was it? What World's End the other day? I like that Christian's still left with a championship. I don't like what they did to Edge in that he won a title for it just to be meaningless. That was his first championship win and stuff like this. I didn't like that because I think they've dropped the ball quite a lot on Edge is the problem. But one silver lining to it is Christian seems like the guy more than Edge now, in my opinion. And that's never happened before in their careers, where Christian seems like he's the hot commodity and Edge seems a little bit like he's more in the background of it. But like the promos, he had that main event match, obviously, was that All Out? It was Christian in the main event, which was...
Darby.
Yeah, which clearly wasn't going to be a main event. But they did crazy stuff. And Christian, like, putting him through, or like, was it a power bomb on the steel steps or something like this?
It was a slam. It was off the apron onto the steps that were at the angle.
Yeah, just something absolutely like insane stuff.
And Darby taking that on the angle like a madman he is.
Yeah,
But no, that's a very fair. If you would ask me like villain of the year or something like that, I would definitely have chosen Christian.
Yeah, just like the character, like the pacing, the promos, like everything about it. It's just as soon as he's coming on, I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to pay attention now to what's going to happen. You know, sort of thing like that.
A lot of people have that as well. When his music hits, everyone is like, oh, here we go. What's he going to say now? Okay.
Well, yeah, and like The Rock turning up the other day is like, it was kind of like cheesy and it was the usual shtick. But you see it so infrequently. So even though I was just like, oh, so what's The Rock going to do? Oh, the Baywatch joke. And like you said, there was like perhaps the botch on it or whatever. But I was like, hey, we got there in the end sort of thing, you know. whereas so often there's people where I don't know. It's like they're coming out, they're going to do something, and I'm kind of half my mind can be somewhere else. So if someone's getting my full attention nowadays, then that's great for me. What about tag team of the year?
I don't know. No one springs to mind really.
Yeah.
It's sort of you go with the consistency of FTR. Do you go with like more of a more exciting sort of tandem like the Lucha Brothers, or do you go with sort of like a newer combination like Starks and Big Bill? Or it's difficult to really say.
What is this? You haven't mentioned a single WWE team. Is that intentional?
Like I say, I've watched that more consistently than I have WWE. But
no, fair play again.
But it's I think if you go WWE teams, I mean, I might sound a bit biased here, but probably go with Imperium. I think that as a team themselves I think they are better. I think if you and if you're going to go for the entire year as well, you have to sort of go with with because they've been like a tandem throughout. But then again, they've not really been given a big sort of like a push. There was I thought they might do something with Owens and Zayn when they were the champions and things like that. But I think there was only like a couple of weeks sort of like bits and pieces here and there, and it all seemed to be going around Sami Zayn calling Giovanni Vinci a baldy, and that was about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm saying Owens. There's a case for them. There's a case for the Usos still.
Absolutely.
Only on there. I mean, if it hadn't been for the injury, sort of like putting paid to Mark Davis, I would probably have gone with Aussie Open as well. Though it's just, and again, that's another thing of having seen them develop over the Indies over here live for a long time before they're getting onto their big moment in the thing.
Yeah.
Well, House of Black, that could be easily. I see him as well. I don't know if that's because if you can put on any of the 2-3 combinations, they're always interesting to watch. I don't know. It's a long version.
Okay, no, it's been a really interesting year just because, as short-lived as it was in the end, I was so into everything with Adam Cole and MJF when it was first a thing, and they were really cooking with it. I was like, oh my god, they're like double clothesline. I was like, it's so bad, but it's so like wink to the audience. It was great. I was loving that as a team, and like the storyline between the formation of that team. But obviously, that storyline got cut massively short. In a similar sense, the Usos we had a tag team main event of night one of WrestleMania, and obviously Kevin Owens and Sammy have got history. And so they felt legitimate as a tag team. But for me, them as a team was realistically just Sammy getting his WrestleMania main event. That was not about KO there. But that was still great. But also the Usos felt like they'd finally arrived. But that obviously by about the middle of the year, they had like another pay-per-view main event against Roman and Solo. And then they imploded it. So then I guess the other team in WWE has been the Judgment Day, but because of the faction nature of it, it doesn't feel quite like a team. So it's a difficult one,
What happened to DIY? Are they actually around anymore?
I think they were on TV a couple of weeks ago, right?
Again, didn't they?
Yeah, they were. I did see that there was something with them a couple of weeks ago, but I think.
It's just I don't know if it's they say there's too many wrestlers on each company's roster.
Yeah,
you can make an entire roster out of like the people that aren't used or are used sparingly at these points. And we always have a go at Tony Khan like bringing in like the latest indie like stalwart or name and things like that in this day. Like for instance, this week Deonna Purrazzo, she'll be like for a name coming in. She's been signed and things like that. But the likelihood is in a few months she'll be forgotten about and probably be on Ring of Honor.
Also, she debuted at the end of the debut of
Mariah May,
Maria.
Mariah May,
yeah, exactly.
But we also look. But you have to look at WWE sometimes. They've got like more programming in each week, but they still can't fit everyone on there or in anything where to the point where I don't know. Just I was like, oh, this is a big thing, tag team reuniting a DIY, and then I was like looking at updates and things like that. I was like, are they still around? What's happened to them? What's happened to them? What's happened to Dexter Lumis? What's happened to
a load of the, well, especially any of the NXT guys, because like some of them that were fired, because Dexter was fired at one point and came back, and he hasn't done anything particularly meaningful since. Gargano, was he fired or did his contract end? Either way, it's okay. So he wasn't fired, but he came back, and I don't think he's had anything meaningful. It feels like he's a bunch of those guys that were the NXT guys feel like they are still riding the laurels of the goodwill they had in NXT, but haven't really broke out. But at the same time, WWE, and my theory on this has been that because Roman beats everyone still holds a candle for everyone he beats to somehow make it. And along the way, he's making all of these babyface main eventers so like the roster seems so stacked of main event potential people. The NXT guys who were coming up aren't finding a slot, because who would have thought that one of the Usos would suddenly be a pay-per-view main eventer as a single, and stuff like this. And Sammy, he should have never. His window of opportunity coming in from NXT and trying to become someone, he was steadily a mid-carder, and somehow he found himself as a main eventer, and that definitely took a spot from someone that would have come up from NXT. And the other thing, and this is a good thing, I suppose. Well, no, it definitely is a good thing, because of like things like wellness policies and all that. Things have changed. This is why we do have Billy Gunn still wrestling at 60, and like Sting's about to retire, and The Rock can come back, and things like this. WWE for like the last 10 years, it's been said, oh, The Undertaker's part-time, Brock is part-time. But now there's a bunch of people that can come in part-time. Like Punk coming in takes a spot from someone, which then if Cody ends up in the mid-card, then there isn't a spot for DIY in the mid-card, So I don't know what the solution to that is, Dave. Just like...
Well, luckily we don't have to make that decision, so we're okay.
Yeah. Because there's also more promotions than there's been in years. Because like I don't really follow GCW, but I know that's become a bigger thing in the last couple of years, and NWA is up and down with any relevance it may or may not ever have.
Did we have a show on that when that pay-per-view went out, and with the thing with Billy Corgan, with the whole
cocaine one? I don't think we did.
We talked about that. I don't know. Because that was just like, I couldn't believe that. It was just mind-boggling why they decided to do that and lost their TV deal. Yeah, but like, where did it go to? It went to WWE, didn't it?
Sorry,
I think the company like that ended up giving it to WWE for like another.
For NXT, I think.
NXT, sorry,
yeah. So whatever channel it was, the CW or something was where NXT is going to go. And there was something about that NWA is going to be on their streaming service. But why they felt the need to suddenly cut to the sinister minister snorting cocaine of all people, it's like that's gripping television.
Yeah, Billy Corgan smashed too many pumpkins in his time. That's what's happened, I think. That's just
and MLW is still a thing. I thought here's the interesting thing. AEW came along and it instantly knocked Impact down, but like MLW were probably thinking, oh, we can try to get some of that Impact spot.
Yeah.
And then AEW sort of smushed everything down. But then what's going on with...
I'd say Impact has sort of retained that place, though. That's been probably the most consistent company this year in terms of some of the stuff. I don't watch it religiously, but when I have watched it, I've enjoyed what I've seen, and it seems
this is the really weird thing.
Now they're going back to being TNA.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. The announcement that they were going back to being TNA, it felt like it almost completely revived them in the fans' hearts that were perhaps at that same time perfect storm again, slightly disillusioned with AEW. That was when they were saying, is CM Punk going to Impact? And everyone was like, no, of course not. but like everyone for a moment believed that TNA could suddenly be the challenger again.
It was almost like, you could say, oh, he's not going back. Of course, he's not going back to Impact. That'd be ridiculous. Oh, TNA is coming back. Oh, could he go back to TNA?
Yeah.
Suddenly in the minds of fans is like, that's more credible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, should we do another best of?
What would you like to?
I was going to say, what's been your best? I don't know. What's been your? Let me think. What's been your funniest moment in terms of something that's gone wrong, or something you laughed at, it shouldn't have done, or been a legitimate comedy moment that did make you howl out laughing at something?
Gosh, I'm gonna have to think on that. Like, there was
I'll tell you what mine is.
Yeah, go for it.
Mine is. It's Shane McMahon's return at WrestleMania.
Yes, that was this year.
Yeah,
that was incredible. Yeah,
just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and just the fact that just a cameraman telling Snoop Dogg, "Punch Miz quick."
Yeah. One of my favorite things about that is the Miz was suddenly, he was in the ring about having a match with Shane McMahon for 30 seconds, and before he knows it, he's suddenly, after a single punch, getting pinned by a non-wrestler, and he's just got to be like a year ago, I'd won, or just over like 18 months ago, I'd won my second world title, and now I'm in losing a second match in 2 nights.
Yeah. And there's the announcer, the referee just counting 3, and the rounds are going, "Here's your winner, Snoop Dogg." It's like, he wasn't in the match. What's going on?
Yeah. No, that was brilliant. Did you? I think I shared it earlier. Did you see that table spot that I shared on our group chat
today?
Yeah.
Have
you ever seen something where someone just gets the middle of a table breaks?
Never seen that before. Those Japanese tables, though, those tables they use in New Japan for those spots are like, they do look quite lethal. I'm pretty sure someone's like come across of those before. They've had like a cut where they didn't need to or something. But I've never seen anyone just go through the frame and just sit there like that. And Alex Coughlin, to bless him, he sold it perfectly. He was like, "I am unconscious. I'm staying here." Brilliant.
Do you know what? Imagine if he couldn't quite go through, but he was now having to just hold himself there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very funny. Almost as funny as the what was it, the Dick Togo bump from, was it last year? Was Wrestle Kingdom the year before, Evil versus Nada, where Evil bumps into him, and Dick Togo just does this thing where he goes off the apron, jumps as high as he possibly can do, and drops down. I think I did a video. I sent it to Matthew Botchamania if he'd use it. He said he couldn't use it because New Japan don't like him using their footage. But it was him. So it was Dick Togo going up, and then I would cut to Hans Gruber falling from the building thing down there, and then finally smash.
Yeah, wow. Gosh, I can't think what I know for a fact. There's been a bunch of botch stuff. I know that there's, the internet loves to point out any AEW botches. There was actually one on Dynamite last night. Who was it that was wrestling? Daniel Garcia against, was it Eddie Kingston?
Oh, where you went to do the sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter on the table, and they just both toppled over. I mean, that was good. There's definitely better ones, but
you know what? I kind of bought it though, because I was like, you know what? He's twisting his leg off of the table like that. I would have bought that as a Dutch hit move anyway. So it looked like it really hurt. But yeah, no, I'll watch these botches and things like that. There's been some hilarious ones in the last little while. There was one. Oh, what was it? There was. I forgot what it was. I'll have to put it in the chat. But there was something happened quite recently that I thought, what is going on here? Yeah, but I mean, it happens all the time, isn't there? But that's not the funniest moment though. That's just, it's got to be a shame. No disrespect to the fact that he tore his quads like his dad, but.
And now, will he ever be seen in WWE? I mean, I think his son was seen since.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Declan, whatever his name is, McMahon, I guess. Right? Like his son's been in the crowd, which may be the only reason we ever end up seeing Shane again. But what a sad end to the career that would be. Now, interestingly, Pro Wrestling Chronicle have got their awards that they've actually been announcing since we've gone live on this.
All right.
And so I'll bring it up here. Let me just make sure this. You can always, Twitter is a bit dodgy that you don't know what's going to come up on the screen. But here we can see Tag Team of the Year. They've given it to Owens and Sammy.
Okay.
Becky Lynch, Female Performer of the Year. Really?
Yeah. I mean, Well, I mean, you look at that. I mean, you've got to ask yourself the question at the moment, whenever you see anyone as performer of the year and things like that, are they as good a sports entertainer as Road Dogg? That's what you got to ask at the moment.
Well, yeah. Who was that he said about that he's a better sports entertainer than MJF?
Yeah. That's today's one. I'm just like, what are you talking about, mate? Seriously.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. What was her most... She had a match with Trish earlier in the year.
So the Trish
I'll be honest.
Well, she went back to NXT, didn't she? Had a little run with the NXT women's title.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Had some good matches with Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria, people like that. So, yeah, she's had a decent year. I wouldn't have said she was the best one of the year. I think that would...
Tony Storm surely has been much more attention-grabbing.
I mean, in terms of like an improvement of a character, I'd imagine so, yeah, and things like that. But I thought Rhea Ripley, I think I would have been hands down for her this year.
Yeah. Oh, but the interesting thing with Rhea is that so much of it has been Judgment Day business rather than just her own stuff. But yeah, I actually agree.
She had the match against Charlotte, which was really good, and the Rumble win and all that sort of stuff. I think that's of her own accord. Oh, Judgment Day, Faction of the Year, yeah.
Faction of the Year. I think it has to be. Like, at the very beginning of the year, everything with the Bloodline and Sammy was such a great storyline, but the Bloodline, it's not their fault. Okay, so here's a question, Dave. Why has Roman not been on television hardly at all? Because it's really pushed it to the absolute limit. What injury or what reason has he got to only wrestle 4 times a year now?
I mean, I don't know.
I feel like it's something that no one's really even spoke about.
Yeah, but it's been... I mean, I remember when I was like watching it, they always put over on the commentary that the champions always had to defend their titles every 30 days.
Yeah.
When I was much younger. That obviously went by the wayside a long time ago. But that really being said, so I don't know. Maybe it's a situation of this guy. He's playing up the fact that he's the biggest star on the roster and he can wrestle when he wants to or when he needs to, and that sort of thing. I mean, it's no different really to when Brock was champion. He was defending it every now and then and things like that. So it's more of an event when they do come back in. I mean, to be honest though, I think in terms of average, if you look at I'll go back to Wrestle Kingdom a second when Sonata losing the IWGP World Title to Naito today. I think Sonata, he won it in March or April last year, things like that. I think he defended it 3 times in that time. So it's not exactly much different. He's like once against Evil, once against Jack Perry at that Forbidden Door show. Terrible title defense was on that show.
Oh yes,
and once before then I think against the Hiromu, and that's his world title reign. So always world title contenders. I mean, I'm not saying for a second he wrestles a lot more than Roman does, but in terms of title defenses, it's just I don't know what the rhyme or reason there is for these things. It's also a bit more muddied now because you've got in AEW particularly, you've got yet another championship added with this Continental Classic, which ended up with the Continental Crown, which is another title. And again, this is just to quote the podcast I was listening to today, where they're saying you've got Continental Classic, you've got the International Championship, you've got the World Championship. All of those titles, all of those words mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Continental, World, and International, whatever it was. What the divisions actually are and what they are actually the champion of.
I remember like when TNA was first a thing, and I'd read like a Q&A thing that would be on the like NWA TNA website. It was Ask the Professor with Mike Tenay. And for the first 3 or 4 years, he'd be like, no, we're going to focus on our world champion, on our X Division champion, and our tag team champions. And that's it, because they each mean more. And before we knew it, we'd got the global champion, who was then the
TV champion.
And I think there was at least one other name for it.
There was a Legends champion, I think.
That was it. They were all the same belt, right? And then they introduced...
Wasn't the global champ? Wasn't there another global championship that was matches that was on the British round system? Was there a rounds championship or something like that?
With TNA?
Yeah, there was people like yeah, I'm sure there was.
Gosh, I don't remember. I
They
know
held
that, like,
it wasn't a long like it didn't last very long, but I
yeah,
think it
okay.
might have been during the point where Global Force were involved. You know, that little
That makes
period
sense. Because they would have brought in that name, and apparently Global Force had a show a week ago, or having a show in a week's time. That's still a thing somewhere in the world,
Wow,
and Scott
okay.
Steiner's on it or something.
Of course
But
it is.
yeah,
It's a shocker Jarrett's not on it.
who?
It's a shocker Jarrett's not on it.
Well, yeah, that's yeah. He must be involved somewhere in the background because it's his brand.
AD dealings with his Global Force Gold.
Okay, so I won't tell you what Pro Wrestling Chronicle have said, but what would you say is your show or brand of the year?
Show or brand of the year?
Yeah, so like, you know, is it SmackDown, Raw, Dynamite? It's got to be Rampage, obviously, or Collision, or you know, I guess.
I mean, well, for me, it's Dynamite.
Dynamite.
For me, it's Dynamite.
Okay. I don't know what I. The one thing I know is it's not Rampage. Like when Collision first started, I was quite excited by it, but as soon as Punk went, it just became Rampage Part 2.
Well, isn't that the weird thing that's going on with this deal that the WWE might be nicking the time slot now? Because the channel are saying, well, Collision was meant to be the CM Punk thing, and you haven't got CM Punk anymore. Oh, this group have got CM Punk now.
Yeah,
they're possibly changing.
You know,
the story came out a few weeks ago, I think.
I don't know what would happen if AEW lost their TV channel. Nowadays, it doesn't really matter anywhere near as much as it did with WCW. But I kind of want AEW to stay put. WWE can stay put, or they can go wherever they're going to go. It's a spicy part of the promotional war. Everyone loves WWF versus WCW, and they want WWE versus AEW. But literally, if one channel, if one promotion steals the other's channel, it could be a domino effect that we end up losing a promotion. Because for the last 2 years, we've been saying, is Ring of Honor going to get a TV channel? And if it's now that literally AEW won't have a TV channel, then what happens to Ring of Honor? I think Ring of Honor instantly folds. And then how long can they even keep?
What even is Ring of Honor anymore? It's just,
I don't know, because isn't the world title now just part of this strong AEW Continental Championship? Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Title as a fucking yearly tournament or something. Just keep it as that. Keep it simple. Anyway.
Right, so Pro Wrestling Chronicle have given it, I don't know how this is, so there's some sort of vote. They've given it to SmackDown either way.
All right.
Manager of the year, Paul Heyman. I mean, the only other option, I guess, is Rhea Ripley, if she counts as a manager.
There aren't any managers. How can you not give it to Prince Nana?
Oh, do you know what? Yeah. Like, yeah, I know.
Gotta give
there
it
are
to
some fun dances in AEW this year.
Yeah. Yeah, there have been a few.
And then, what's this? Male best on promos, Cody.
Really?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
It feels like Cody's attended a bunch of acting classes on the recommendation of Stephen Amell or whatever. But he cries in every promo. Like his Yeet promo when there was the press conference, and Uso, where they were just drunk. That was great. That's not quite an in-ring promo, but that was entertaining. What would you say is promotion of the year?
Promotion of the year? What do I think? What do I think is promotion of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. What would you choose, Dave?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's got to be AEW because it's the only show that I went to this year. It's the only one that made me get a ticket for.
Yeah,
I went to Wembley.
Okay, so for me, I would say it was WWE this year. Last year I would have said AEW. Well, actually, I don't know. Like 2 years ago, I would have said AEW, hands down. This year, I would say I've enjoyed. My highlights of the year have been things that WWE have done ultimately. Consistently, like week after week, good matches, just enjoying matches probably at AEW because they wrestle a different style. But here's the interesting thing from the result here. Apparently, 95% of the vote said WWE. That's extraordinary. Well, I mean, I don't know enough about who their voting is and how they do it, but how can they get 95% of the vote? That's crazy.
That's right.
And then what's this? Entrance of the year, Bad Bunny.
Oh, we talked about that. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. I can't think of. Well, the reaction was what made it. I can't even think what were the special entrances at Mania. I can't remember any, to be honest. Debut, return of the year, CM Punk. Probably. There might be another one that I'm forgetting, but probably that. Like The Rock's, when he came back a few weeks before that, was a big deal.
That was sort of like a one-off little thing, wasn't it? It wasn't part of the story. It was more like that was. Hang on, it was just a one.
Edge's in AEW was underwhelming. It's always cool nowadays when you see someone, or hear, I guess, someone jump company and they've got the same music they had somewhere else. You know, because AEW, I think they did that with the Hardys, or Jeff Hardy at least, coming in with the Hardy Boys music. Obviously, they've done it with Edge. Did you see that with Scotty 2 Hotty a week ago?
No.
Have you missed the AEW debut of Scotty 2 Hotty?
What?
I kid you not. And the thing is, he had the Too Cool theme from WWE.
Was this a dream?
No, I swear, I'm gonna find something.
I'm watching AEW steadily for the last couple of weeks. I've been catching up with it.
Okay, so this may have been something that you had to see on Twitter, because I think I read that it was a dark match or something. I only saw it on Twitter.
My return of the year is the superfan Vladimir the pay per view the other day.
Oh yeah, that interesting story. So look,
what?
I won't. Yeah, there you go. But he came out to his WWE theme.
Oh yeah, if they're not broadcasting on TV, well, you can do. When did they broadcast that? When did that happen?
I think it was a dark match. The interesting thing, though, I don't know what the rules are on if they've now got the rights to that theme and WWE can't use it. It almost, when I saw that, I was like, oh, they've done this so that they can't bring out Rikishi to be part of any tribal court or whatever and bring out Rikishi.
They can use his bad man entrance, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could, although I don't think it's as iconic.
Oh, of course it's not, though. It's funny.
You know. But at the same time...
I did not see that. I did not see that. It's news to me.
Yeah, at the same time, I don't know if it would fit the bloodline if he just came out in his dancing Rikishi gimmick. He needs to come out sort of as like...
He needs to come out with the head shrinkers.
Oh, yeah, that too. Right, I've clicked off of any of these awards that I was on, so that was a mistake. Let's see, was there anything else? No, okay, so that was just about it. Dave, is there anything we have missed? We can begin to wrap this up because we'll have extremely.
I guess the other one we probably haven't said.
Oh, match of the year, true. Also, here's one that we did miss: ring announcer of the year.
Ring announcer of the year.
Yeah.
What they've actually said. It's probably I don't know her name. Is it Samantha Irvin? Is it she's the ring announcer who does the Chelsea Green, which I always find quite funny.
Apparently, they've said that she's not allowed to do that anymore, which I don't understand.
Yeah, which is really stupid.
Yeah. Okay, but here's the weird thing. Now, Dave, do you know Gogglebox, the TV show? Basically, she is WWE's Gogglebox because they film her the entire show. And then when The Rock came back on TikTok, I went onto TikTok and it got The Rock returning, interrupting Jinder. And this was a day or two ago, so it may have changed. But The Rock's return had got like 2.9 million views.
Right.
Him talking smack to Jinder had got 2.6 million views. Him saying, I'm going to go, should I sit at the head of the table, had got 2.4 million views. Samantha Irvin's reaction to The Rock's theme had got 3.1 million views. The most viewed part of the whole of Rock's return was her reaction to it. And I'm like, and over again, they're just filming her going, the Judgment Day. And she gets really into it. And it's cool. Yeah. It's nice to see how into it she gets. But literally the whole time she must just be sitting there thinking, in one sense, oh, this is great. I'm getting so much fame and all I'm doing is saying some names. But also she's like, I'm just meant to speak every like 25 minutes and they're filming me constantly. So she constantly has to perform on camera the entire show just so they can film any of her reactions like an episode of Gogglebox.
Okay, that's really weird.
Yeah.
It's just like it's what I'm saying about creepy stuff earlier. We're talking about like briefly touched on it with Jericho and things like that. It's just there's a breeding ground for creeps and things like that. And it's just like imagine these people just are probably putting it. There are probably people emailing WWE saying, "Could you make this a live feed, please? I just want to watch her react to things. Could you put a live feed, please?" There's probably tons of them out there doing that.
WWE though.
But I'm really hoping that if they are going to bring. They are going to not do anything about Jericho and in AEW. At least when they have him back on TV, this tag team with Sammy Guevara, just call them less sex pests rather than sex gods.
There you go. Well, look, Sammy's got what am I saying, Sam? Yeah, well, because I was saying Sami Zayn earlier, but Sammy Guevara obviously had that whole thing with Sasha Banks a few years ago. Not to bring up, look, people can move on. The weird thing is,
I'm sure he has moved on, but Jericho apparently hasn't.
But the weird thing with the Jericho thing is there was some sort of thing said, and then I'm not quite sure what the accusation is the truth of it. Not that I've been following it precisely, but I know when he came out. Sorry?
It's probably best if we don't discuss it live on air.
Well, exactly. Yeah. No, I do agree. But like, then the weird thing was he came out on the pay-per-view. Everyone sung his theme and then instantly started booing him. And I was like, come on, you can't have it both ways. Either you're booing this guy and you're not happy that he's there, or you're cheering him and you're going to sing his theme. You shouldn't do both.
But did I ever show you the video I took of from Wembley when he was doing the Freddie Mercury thing before?
No, I don't think so.
It's basically I just filmed it. And you just see my hand in front, just go in front of the camera, just going.
Oh dear, yeah.
I never put that one up, but I wasn't impressed.
But well, apparently it was a thing that he wasn't on Dynamite last night. Again, not that I have seen it particularly. Yeah, I saw some of it. So who knows what's going to happen there? Who would you say is Booker of the Year? Booker of the Year.
Busy buying TK a new hat.
Yeah.
Booker of the Year, I'd imagine it's probably Triple H.
It is. Would you agree with it though?
In terms of consistency, absolutely.
Yeah. What is going on with Tony Khan? Literally looks like he's going insane. He's still I've made this joke already today, so I'm repeating myself, but he's still got a COVID lockdown haircut, and he just literally he looks kind of like he's going insane. I'll bring up the picture I shared earlier.
So my guy who does another podcast I listen to, Grapple Podcast, JP, on there, who put a tweet out today. He retweeted Tony Khan talking about one of the matches from Wrestle Kingdom today, and he just quote tweeted him and said, "Go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Have a rest."
Well, I saw this, and it's like you've got 1981 Tom Hanks, and it looks like he's about to play Tony Khan, but Tony Khan is looking like a madman.
The one next to Tom Hanks in that one, it does look like Tony is about to eat a child.
Yeah, it's weird. And when AEW started, and obviously a year later there was a pandemic, and he's like, I'm going to keep everyone on payroll, and you see these if I bring it up now very quickly,
he's a good guy in that respect, and he's a good businessman in that respect, but he's got to delegate this stuff. He's got to stop being the guy that books everything.
Yeah, but also when you see this guy, you're like, this is what wrestling needed. Someone who was passionate about it. He looks respectable, and somehow along the way,
Tony Khan to Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's a real shame. And the cracks were starting to show when he was ranting in support of CM Punk, and Punk looked embarrassed, that media scrum or whatever, where he's like, this guy's the biggest guy who's ever done anything for our business, and everyone's like, oh wow. And then there was that time where he just kind of looked spaced out and everything. But it's a real shame. It's a real shame. Anyway, let me just refresh something to make sure there's not any last minute breaking news, because there probably will be. I think there was meant to be some like big announcement today from Triple H, so this is literally going to happen in 10 minutes time probably.
Okay.
But no, I can't see that there is. So any last things that you want to get off your chest or that we haven't covered today, Dave?
I think we've covered quite a lot, to be honest. I think that's about it. Also some sad news during the wrestling week and things like that, in terms of some losses, unfortunately. So just if anyone is out there that is affected by it, then just all best to the friends and family of Curtis Chapman. And sadly, the British wrestler James Castle just posted an update on his health, and it's not good. So all the best to him and friends and family and everyone else. And sad stuff out there, which is really really not fair on with some situations out there, and it's just a bit of a damn squib. But yeah, but apart from that, I think that it'd be interesting. It's always interesting this time of year for wrestling in terms of what's coming up and what's going to happen, and with Rumble and everything going on to Mania. So let's hope it's all plain sailing.
Yeah, no, I agree on every front with what you just said there, but absolutely, it is going to be an interesting time. The fact that we don't know who's going to main event WrestleMania makes the Royal Rumble more interesting. I think WWE is in the best position they've been in many years. I think AEW have hit some bad points, but again, like the Continental Classic, put a bit more focus, and again, that sports-based presentation stuff. The rumors were that they were going to have Mercedes Moné last night, but obviously, if they had a big debut, they shouldn't do them all at once, which I agree with. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting time over the next few weeks. I enjoyed Raw this week, first one of the year. I enjoyed the AEW pay-per-view, from top to tail of it. I didn't think there was a bad match. Not that we've gone over terribly much of it. So yeah, with that, let's wrap things up there. Dave, where can the people find you?
Okay, on X or Twitter, whatever it's called now, at Degrino, just on social media, just find me if you want me. And I'll see you in a few minutes for Extreme Improv.
Yeah, and my name is David Postansky. You find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David Postansky. Spelled Pustansky. Make sure you follow everything Slam Jam Wrestling Show related on Twitter, X, Instagram, and all that stuff. It's 2024, and I'm going to even see it. I'm going to try to make it so that Slam Jam has a live show. And I don't quite know when. I don't quite know where. I don't quite know what form it will take. But that's the aim. So until next time, stay safe.
Your life.
Always stay extremed. And ciao for now. Keep slamming and jamming. And be a good Slam Jam brony. Bow. And we're off the air.
Yeet.
Yeet.